Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Living Fit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full on follow along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? Aaron Guyett with the Living.Fit Show here, and I've got an incredible guest. So not only does Josh Graves own a fitness facility in Orange County, but I actually used to own a fitness facility in Orange County, and I had the great pleasure of meeting him when I was living down there in the Costa Mesa, Orange County area, and we actually met through, you name it, fitness. And so I've had the great pleasure of knowing Josh, getting to know Josh, and the even greater pleasure of getting to know him a little bit more recently, and getting to know him a little bit more recently because of an upcoming event that we're going to be doing together. So I'm super pumped to have Josh here on the show talking about what is Living Fit to him, but also, I think more importantly, the fitness industry, how he got into the fitness industry, and how that all worked out. So without further ado, Josh, how did you get into the fitness industry?
Yo, what up? Thanks for having me here, and always good connecting with you, brother.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I've been in the fitness space since about 2007. I don't know how often I get asked that question, like what got you into the fitness industry? I've always been in the fitness space. I think I was talking about this with a new coach recently that I started lifting when I was like 13 years old. So I've been in the fitness, like in the weight room, like at least 20 plus years without fail. Like people come to the gym sometimes, they're like, oh, I haven't been working out for like a year. Like, gosh, man, I don't think I've ever taken more than like 2 weeks off of the weight room in all my life, right? So a large part was just being a gym shark, just being somebody that loves the gym, is passionate about the gym. I played football growing up. That was my major sport. Played a lot of sports, but football ended up taking me, got me a scholarship opportunity to come out to California, initially from Indiana. Played a little bit at San Diego State. Kept up with football workouts even after football, and then at some point coming across the industry. I'm trying to give you a Reader's Digest version versus having to give it all to you.
I know, it's so hard.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But guys, one thing that I saw was that when I stopped playing football, I kept eating like a football player and I kept lifting like a football player. And that honestly didn't do too great for my body. I ended up having a lot of issues, a lot of shoulder injuries, a lot of neck issues, low back issues. And as I started working in the fitness industry as initially like a fitness salesperson, and then a personal trainer and a personal training manager, and some of these other things at big box gyms, the higher I got promoted and the more I worked myself up the companies, the more I found myself at a desk and the more I found myself hurting, right? My neck, my back, all this other stuff. I got promoted to a gym in 2010. 2010. And there was a trainer that worked at that gym for me. I was the general manager at this facility. And there's a trainer there. And he was just unlike most of the trainers that I had ran into at that time. He's a guy that like borderline sounded like a Jedi when he'd coach. I was watching him just move differently, kind of wear like these barefoot minimal kind of shoes, right? Like short shorts, like great build, but not like overly buff, not overly skinny. And I watched him for a little while and I started to watch him. I was like, dude, this guy only does like 6 things with his clients. He's doing like goblet squats, Turkish get-ups, kettlebell presses, kettlebell swings. I don't think he was doing the snatch much with his clients, but like cleans and like maybe like pull-ups. That was like the whole dude's repertoire, but all of his clients were getting results. He had the least injury rate out of all the trainers, out of like 20-something trainers I had at that gym. And so I started watching him. I was like, and he made a comment about how kettlebell swings would activate your glutes and get rid of glute insomnia and would help people with their chronic low back issues and some of these kind of things. Like, dude, I want to get some sessions with you. So this was pretty, 3 or 4 years into my training game. I hired this trainer to work with me, and he was a Russian kettlebell instructor. He was somebody that really specialized in kettlebell training. So when I started working with that trainer, that was one of the first paradigm shifts I had in the industry that showed me there's so much more to the fitness space than just the selectorized equipment and the pin-loaded machines, right? The pin-loaded machines with the cardio equipment. So I really got deep into kettlebells, and really, man, like that fixed my body in so many ways that like, it's so crazy. I was such a heavy, big meathead for a while. I was doing like 500 plus pound squats, but they were like 2 inches of depth in my movement kind of thing. If I squatted beneath, if my hips got beneath parallel to my knees, I would just collapse backwards, right? Like I was just very dysfunctional. And the kettlebell literally like changed my life, man. I have a pretty ironclad back at this point. My shoulders are way different. My posture's way different. My neck's different. And that ended up taking me into this downward spiral through the fitness industry on all these other unorthodox methods of training, whether it be battle ropes, kettlebells,
I think it's an
animal
upward spiral.
movements.
You were
Upward spiral. Thank you. Yes, transcending. Absolutely. Good call. You're absolutely right. And eventually it got me out of the big box gyms, right? Eventually it got me into a place where I was like, dude, there's so much more in the fitness space. I really want to dive deeper into it. And eventually that's why I ended up leaving my big box gym and starting my own brand at some point, was to chase really the kettlebell in the beginning. And so it's super funny to come back full circle and connect with some of the people I've always respected in the kettlebell space, including yourself. And so it's neat to be able to now be offering, certifications and teaching what fixed me to my coaches and have them teach it to people that we're helping and all that. So I give you so much more about, 15 plus years in the fitness space, but that's kind of the things that I think are the most relevant is how I came from football. I lifted heavy weights. I did all the traditional bench press, deadlifts, and squat workouts. Found myself in an office job, was hurting because of it. And the kettlebell basically took me in a whole new light of finding a path in fitness that didn't hurt, made me stronger, made me better. I'm actually 10 times the athlete I've ever been, not arrogantly, but honestly, I'm much more the athlete than I've ever been. I don't hurt anymore. And kettlebell training kind of led me that way.
Yeah. And I think I met you. Well, I'm trying to remember the first time I met you. Cause it wasn't, I don't think it was the first time I kind of got to know you was at the kettlebell cert. But I think I met you prior to that, but it was like a super quick flash in the pan meeting. And I know that you had kind of just begun this. It seemed as if at least you had just begun the Spartan thing. And is this correct? You were bigger 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, like, size wise than you are now. Is that a correct observation?
For sure.
But
definitely. I was please.
But obviously, even watching you compete, the movement, right? Your ability to move and your ability to move weight has gotten better. And so I'm guessing that you might have been doing 500 pounds, pull your body over obstacles and things like that. Probably did. Is that a correct observation?
Yeah, I would say so, for sure, man. I mean, I've definitely, I guess I found the light side of the force, bro. Like literally all those things that you're talking about. I think just literally moving as a human, being more human in movement has been what this journey's really been about for me on the back half of my career. It's literally about halfway through my career, I started my own brand. So it was in 2015 that I opened Fitness on Fire. And so Fitness on Fire is a functional, it's a personal training facility, call it what it is, like a functional training gym or personal training facility. We've got 21 team members here now. And we really specialize in like Spartan race training. We do one-on-one training, semi-private training, group classes. We do sports performance training. We work with high school athletes. But what people come from all over the world to come work with us on is Spartan race training. So that was something that took its own life at some point here when a couple of our members started training for races together, and they started pairing up on the weekends, going for mountain runs, and they go and travel and race all over the world. Now it's pretty cool. But what resonated with me about Spartan when it first came up was literally like the human primal side of it. It's not about how much do you bench, bro, or like all these other things that I was so used to. What's your bicep diameter? Like none of that actually mattered at all, right? Or circumference. It really became like, hey, can you get over that wall? Can you hike that distance? Can you climb under that? Can you carry this? Like those things. It's just so freaking human, man. It really gets you back in touch with like what it feels like to be that primal animal that we are. So Spartan Race has taken a whole different turn for me. And I think with the trails and the hiking and all that stuff, it's definitely leaned me out a little bit over the years too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, how do you run multiple miles per week and then 20 miles, 15 miles, 10 miles, these competitions, these races, and not have your body go, hey, I think there's a better way to do this. Let's drop a couple of these LBs. That's something that I've been talking about recently. And I think that this is a great example of that, is like, time's going to unravel whatever it is that you're doing consistently. Right. But the thing is, oftentimes, we want the goal right now, today. But in fact, the goal actually is the journey, in that as long as you keep this journey going, as long as you keep pursuing this lifestyle, the look is going to be inevitable. And so I'll try to caveat that into a post that you had just posted. You posted kind of your humble beginnings of Fitness on Fire, which I freaking love, because talk about Spartan, right? It's like this very austere Spartan, very simplistic, not much is there, but the culture is there, the community is there, the connection is there, the energy is there. Was that kind of the first step into Spartan, was Fitness on Fire and then Spartan, or was it Spartan and then Fitness on Fire? How did that exactly transpire?
Yeah, I want to echo and agree with you too, that you talked about kind of what I tell a lot of my clients, which is form follows function. The idea that if you just like, like we weren't obese and terribly out of shape back when we were all like physically working. Like when people were back in America's history and throughout all of the world's history, in some cultures, they don't even have a word for exercise. Like exercise, it almost like, it sounds funny. I think I've heard Pavel talk about this a lot, but exercise almost sounds like exorcism, right? Like you're exercising, you're excising your demons. Like it's more of like a stress relief than anything else. But in some societies, like, if I have to go to the river and I have to fill up jugs with water to bring back water for the village and for my family to bathe or to drink or whatever, and I have to carry this, I have to go down a hill, fetch the water, carry up 5-gallon pails back up a hill to my house and all this other stuff. If you told me, hey, let's go do leg day first, and then let's go down to the river, and when out your legs are shaking, you're spilling water everywhere and you can hardly get back up the hill, that makes any sense? It wouldn't make sense for most people in most societies. Instead, they just live in a way that is just fit, right? Talk about living fit. Like these people just live fit naturally. So as they just do things all the time, they work with their hands, they work off the land, they eat food that makes sense. They eat like adults, I think is what Dan John talks about. That essentially like, obesity ain't running rampant in most of these places. Obesity runs rampant in places like America and like the UK and stuff, where we have way too many comforts. As we have all these comforts and people get to sit down and order food and Uber Eats and all this other stuff, that's where we get in a weird place. So yeah. I definitely agree with what you're saying, that if you just continue to be active and eat like an adult over the course of time, you can get results like that. It doesn't have to be any kind of secret, silver bullet or something like that.
Yeah, but Fitness on Fire does have the secret if you're looking for it. So
yeah. But we got silver bullets for sure. but coming back to the question you asked about kind of Spartan training, the Spartan training thing, it was funny. I opened the gym initially, like you're saying, with kettlebells and TRX. What I didn't see a lot of in the fitness space at that time, I saw a lot of selectorized equipment and cardio machines, but I didn't see a ton of gyms that were teaching people how to be functional and move the way that you and I were talking about. So, so for me, I and you know how it is at some point, we all gone through this. If you're a trainer, listen to this and you absolutely know what I'm talking about, where to a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So when kettlebells were my thing, everything, like kettlebells would solve all the problems. So if you came with any issues, like, oh, dude, ankle mobility, kettlebells. Oh, dude, you're low back, kettlebells. Oh, you need to lose some fat, kettlebells. Oh, you're trying to get stronger, kettlebells. Kettlebells are the answer for everything. And maybe that's right, but there's
they can stuff now. They can be. That can be your answer.
For sure. So initially, my whole initial ambition was just to start the gym with like kettlebells. So it's like kettlebells and TRX. And then that led me to other weird stuff, sandbags and rope training and maces and tires and all this other cool stuff, right? So then at that time, I had a girl in the gym that was training for her Spartan trifecta. And if you're familiar with Spartan, I'll just trust that you know what trifecta is. Google if you're not sure. But so Spartan trifecta, she's like, I'm training for my Spartan trifecta. I've done the first of my 3 races. I want to train for the other races. Will you train me for it? And I was like, I'll train you for it. And I looked it up a little bit. And I was like, I'll tell you what. I will actually, if you sign up and you commit to the year here to train for your Spartan trifecta with me, I won't just train you for it. I'll actually do it with you. And this was anyways, I did the first race with her. And then after that, like our whole community's like, hey, what's this Spartan thing? And our training just fit the bill. We were doing all this weird animal movement stuff on the ground, crawling and get ups and swings and heavy carries and all this other stuff. So it really just it's very natural. It's a natural transition for our community. And where racing was already a part of that conversation is, since I was a young trainer, like 2007, 2008, I had this concept I called the now what principle. And the now principle was like, I train clients that get super fit and I'd be like, okay, well, you're fit. Now what? What's the next goal? What else are we shooting for? Because I noticed that people would like go through this honeymoon phase in fitness, right? Where when they have a big goal they're trying to accomplish, like, dude, nothing's going to stop them, right? Like if you get the right person in the gym, they come in like, I need to lose 50 pounds. I'm getting married in 6 months. And like, dude, I've already bought the dress and I'm not going to remeasure that thing. I need to be 50 pounds lighter. That woman will lose that weight. I don't know what it is, man. There's a fire that some people come with inside them. Like, dude, no matter what, I'm getting to this result. Where I struggled as an early trainer was figuring out what to do after they got the result, right? Because I'd get people there and then I'm like, okay, now what? And that was literally the point. Like, now what? You're really strong. Have you ever thought about doing a powerlifting competition? Or, hey, we got your knees working again. Have you ever thought about walking a 5K with your grandkids? Have you ever thought, I have numerous stories. I had a lady with lupus that used to train with me here. And after quite a few years training with me, working with her nutrition, some other things, she went back to the doctor. They got some blood work done and her lupus was in remission. And she comes to me in tears one day. She's like, oh my God, everything we've been doing to get me stronger, like, has really been working. I feel so much better. She's like, I think I want to do something to like landmark my strength and to show how strong I can be. But I don't want it to be one of those Spartan things that you're always doing. And I was like, dude, the fact that that's the first thing that comes to mind for you, and that's the first barrier that you think is beyond you, I was like, I think you should absolutely do that. And so I ended up doing a Spartan race with her. I ran side by side with her. She was so strong. She did so great. So that's what this ended up becoming for us, was a way to bridge people's progress with the next thing, the next goal, putting something in the calendar that gets people to show up and keep working. I know that when I was a football player, I had no issue showing up for practice every day because I was trying to win the championship. But if you didn't have that carrot in the calendar, something you were working towards, I found that it was harder to keep people motivated, especially the fit people. The fit people are like, I don't know, man, I'm just doing chest day for so long. Okay, well, let's fight. Let's do something with your chest day. Let's do some powerlifting or something. So it's not just Spartan racing for us. Now we look for coaches that specialize. I look for coaches that have like niches, that understand or have competed in certain things. So if you came to Fitness on Fire and you wanted to do some ultra marathon running, I've got coaches that know the ins and outs of it. If you wanted to do an Olympic lifting competition, I have coaches that are Olympic lifting certified that can help you with that. But Spartan race is the one thing that I think all of our coaches actually like unanimously done to support our community. And it's the one thing, like, we actually have an obstacle course here at the gym. We train people for the obstacles. We train Fire Academy, police department for the obstacles. So it's definitely our biggest and most passionate love is Spartan racing here.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I mean, it doesn't have to be Spartan racing. It could be any obstacle racing kind of a thing. But it's like, hey, move your body the way it's supposed to move, and bring it to, the further ends of that movement in terms of like performance and output and mobility, right? It's all of those things, and coordination and balance and speed and endurance. And man, it's what a great thing to kind of happen across with that initial client that you decided like, hey, I'll try this out. And then your community folded into that as well. And now your community, it's like, that is the through line. And I mean, truth be told, that's exactly, that's what I thought. Like, if people like, yeah, I'll train you at the facility that we were at or whatever. It's like, I'll train you for this, but why don't you go to a place down the way that this is their specialty? Like, this is what they do. I mean, I can train anybody for anything. I really feel that, because I understand human movement and I understand programming, but it's so much better when you get a person that specializes in something, that has that specialty to be able to train you, because they know all of the I would call it like all of the intangibles, right? And we kind of talked about intangibles on that last conversation that we had with the intangibles of in-person education. But there's all these intangibles that come with a specialty that you won't know unless, like, for instance, like competing in kettlebell sport for me or whatever, or Spartan racing for you, or, you know, whatever it might be, or Olympic lifting for the Olympic lifter. It's like there's all these like little nuances and intangibles that you just can't get without actually competing in it. So that's freaking rad. But I want to shift gears and I want to talk about the intangibles of education with training, and talk about, you know, what you're doing, because I think what you're doing this year, but also where your mindset has been at since the beginning of you in the fitness industry, around education. Like, what are your thoughts on education? How do you approach education? What expectations do you have for your team? And then what do you see, or what do you think that does for your community, your culture, your facility, and your clients and your customers?
Yeah, no, great questions. I think the education side, it's like everything in the industry, man. I think that, you know, if you ain't growing, you're dying, all that kind of stuff. It's actually part of, like, we talk a lot about, I think Simon Sinek has his golden circle where he talks about, you know, start with why, and he talks about like what you do is cool and how you do it and makes it different than other people. That's neat. But really what like people fall in love with your brand is like why you really do what you do. And there's three whys that we do what we do. The first one's we think that coaches make a difference in people's lives. So we're trying to create a platform and a place where coaches can make a career doing what we do. We think that when you're a part of a team, community, when you're part of a team, it makes you better. So we have this concept here. We talk about everybody loves everybody. There's like no bad vibes allowed at Fitness on Fire. And then the third part, though, is that you only go as far as you grow. And this is a part of the why behind what we do. It's part of our mission statement. Fitness on Fire is a safe place for growth and self-development. So what that presumes or presupposes is if you come here to work at Fitness on Fire, you better be excited about growth. You better be excited about self-development, because that is the one thing. Like the first day you come into the gym as a team member here, I'm going to be sitting down with you to talk about your goals, your goals for this year, your 5-year goals, your 10-year vision, something bigger than that. What's your big 5 things that you're trying to accomplish in your lifetime? Like, I care about these things, and I'm trying to lead our team members to the things that are important to them, not just that's important to us and our brand or our goals as a company. What's neat with all that is that, like, growth is just the fabric we're all built from here. Like for our coaches, specifically at Fitness on Fire, we require a fitness related degree or a nationally accredited certification before hire. So I require that before I bring a team member on. They have to have at least a fitness degree or a nationally accredited cert. Once they have those, that will get you in the door, but that's like the bare minimum floor level entry, right? From there, I'm trying to encourage the coaches to fall in love with something so they can get those intangibles that you and I were talking about. It's like, so what's your thing? Like, what do you really like? Like, can we go deep in that? And I try to have them pick a vertical and kind of stick with it for a little bit. If they decide to be certified in numerous things or to go across the board and try a lot of things, that's fine. But, I try to lead them towards getting their message out there to speak and to really connect with like you talked about the intangibles. The intangibles of learning something, I think, do come when you are connected to that niche or that industry. So when you are competing in Spartan races, like I go to a Spartan race and I know other Spartan racers. I know the DJ at the Spartan events. I know the judges at the Spartan events. I know some of the vendors that are there that I see at all the different events. I know other gyms that have similar communities that bring out to these races. So all of that, those are some of the intangibles, right? It's almost like learning Spanish by going to a Spanish speaking country and being immersed in it, right? So that being said, when I have a coach here and they're trying to figure out what their niche is going to be, it's like, dude, go deep in that niche. Where are those people hanging out that have that certification? What kind of circles are they associating with? What kind of meetups are they doing? What other certs are they hosting? When they're going live on Facebook, can you be on that live with them? Like, and the more the coaches do this, the more they start to become authorities in these spaces. So it's something that I'm all about, man, is trying to help these coaches understand their niches and what they really want to represent in the industry. So I could be going into like a couple tangents there, but to answer your question about like how do we approach education? Well, it starts with like you can't be a team member here without a certain amount of education. Number one, like there's a barrier of entry. Number two is we're trying to continuously grow the coaches from there. And then one of the reasons I hit you up this year was because after the last 2 years, a lot of our coaches and team members kept doing a lot of the online learning stuff. Like there was definitely online learning to tap into in the last 2 years. We're recording this right now in 2022. But 2020, like one of the things that I love to do prior to 2020 is we used to take our team every year to Perform Better's events. So Perform Better used to have, their 1 day learn by doings and their 3 day summits. So I would almost always find a reason to either sponsor my team's tickets or pay half and half with them or something like that. And we'd always take our team out and force to go to these educational events. And this would get our team to associate with some of the greatest teachers in the industry, other gym owners and certification industry agencies and all kinds of stuff. And they just be immersed in a couple days of fitness. And 2020, obviously all the in-person stuff got canceled. So we tried to do some in-house learning. We did like a TRX cert virtually here. We did some like we did some like percussion therapy things and stuff like that where we're doing that virtually. We did all the Perform Better did a good job trying to put on like every day or every couple of days they were having like a live seminar or something like that. Not live seminar, a virtual live recording seminar or whatever. So we were doing group learning sessions of that. But gosh, man, my team was just jonesing for some actual in-person learning. So right as all these restrictions started to ease off this year, we made it part of like our big mission this year to get back to in-person learnings and maybe to start to host them here at Fitness on Fire. So my goal this year is to actually get all of our team members to do at least 2 educational events this year per team member. So we surveyed them at the beginning of the year and said, what do you guys want to learn about? And they talked kettlebells, battle ropes. So that was an easy call. I'm like, oh, cool, perfect. I know a guy for that. And then we talked about SPARTAN and obstacle race training. So we have SPARTAN coming in to recertify the rest of our crew. It's not actually SPARTAN certified at the end of the year. We've got like a holistic nutrition cert going on here this year. We have so there's all this other stuff. We're going to CoachCon in Arizona next month. So my team is just all in to just try and get back to some learning and growth. Man, we are missing it. So sorry, I felt like.
That was awesome.
You asked about growth. I got excited about growth.
Dude, that was freaking awesome. Well, what I love the most about it is you could have, I guess, didactically, just analyzed and answered the question very specifically. But what I got to experience and see and listen to was a heart answer, because obviously you care deeply about not only your own growth, but your whole team's growth, every single individual person. And clearly that's, I mean, it's going to trickle down or end up, going through not just your team members, but all the way into each client that steps in the door. It's like, hey, I care about your growth because we care about our team's growth here, and we care about individual human growth. And so you just stepped into the, Fitness on Fire. We're on fire for fitness because we know that this is going to grow you as a person, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically, all of the above, right? Emotionally, socially, all that stuff. So, and I think that's the beauty of the in-person is there are so many intangibles and so many energy type connections that I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it's just way better than watching a Zoom. The material is the same. What I'm learning, it's the same bullet points. It's the same topics. It's the same definitions. It's the same protocols or methodologies or whatever. But there's just something about having that person here teaching their thing. I was wondering, I was just really curious, do you have, because you have team members that specialize, do you have some of your team members that are able to now teach the team some of the things that they do? Do you do like any sort of inter-community teaching? I mean, clearly you do that on a daily basis with your clients, that come in, but do you do any sort of inter-community teaching of your team, teaching your team?
Yeah, for sure. We do something we call trainer training. And trainer training is typically like once a week. And it used to be where I would just lead it all the time and I'd teach something to the team. And now it's gotten to a point where we have so many, to your point, niches and specialties. A good example is like one of our coaches is like a huge FRC and like a FST specialist. So they do functional range conditioning for sorry for the fitness jargon, everybody. So functional range conditioning and fascial stretch therapy. And these are two like healing modalities. And so this coach is all about that life. So they're doing like every other week, they're doing the trainer trainings, and our team is learning so much about joint strengthening and all this kind of stuff. So there's yes, to answer your question, trainer training every week and having different coaches run it. It's probably nice that it gets me off the soapbox. My team don't have to listen to me talk so much, but they also, they get to learn from one another. And I think it creates a really safe environment to explore and play and try some cool things. So it's really neat for sure. And then also all of our team members here, they get a semi-private membership with us here at Fitness on Fire. So they are encouraged to train with the trainers here. So like I did a session last week with Coach Will here and learned a couple things. It was great. It was a great workout. So we inspire our team to actually learn from one another by actually selecting a coach and having a coach train them. It's like you can't sell coaching if you don't really believe in coaching. If you wouldn't personally take advantage of coaching, then like how are you going to sell coaching? So all the above.
Right. That's awesome. So let's say I'm watching this and I'm like, oh shoot, well, I'm in Orange County. I'm 15 minutes away from Irvine. And you are very conveniently located. You're like right off of all of the freeways, and like all the freeways kind of like come together in the center of Orange County. You're like right there, which is pretty awesome. But let's say somebody's watching this like, oh, what the heck? I didn't realize, I was watching Living.Fit stuff and I'd love to have a coach. What's sort of the process that happens for a person that's interested? And I could just make up, I guess, some case study or some type of person or whatever. But you and I both know that there's a myriad of things that, whether it's issues that the person might have had prior to coming or goals that they have that they want to move toward. Regardless of that, what's sort of their process? Do they hit you up online? Do they have to show up at the gym? Do they call? Or how does that work?
Gosh, all the above. Like you can hit us up on the website. If you go to fitnessonfireoc.com, there's going to be call to actions there. You can book an appointment with us that way. We do have walk-ins that come in nowadays. It's so crazy to say that out loud, by the way. I remember, 7 years ago opening the gym, like nobody ever heard of us. And just this morning, we had like 3 walk-ins come in. Like, hey, I'm awesome. Watching you guys online and wanted to come in. Like, dude, it's many blessings. But you could walk in, you could give us a call. Our process is simple in nature, but we normally set you up with like a consultation for the first visit. That's complimentary. It's just a way for us to get to know you and see if we'd be a good fit for you and if you'd be a good fit for us. From there, we get an understanding of how your body moves and works and those kind of things. So we do something similar to like a functional movement screen, kind of get to know your history, your goals, what you're trying to accomplish. And then from there, we'd be able to tell you, what kind of program would make sense for you and all that kind of stuff. So a consultation would be a really good first step with us. And I think if nothing else, I think you come in, you catch a vibe. It's a fun time. We'd laugh. We'll get you moving. I've had people that maybe didn't take advantage of the programs that we offer, but have gotten some fire, all pun intended, but they got some fire when they came in. And it's something where I've had people come and just check in with me once a month and just let me know how they're doing, to people that train with us every single day here, multiple times a day. So anything in the middle is fine for us.
Well, and I have to say that Fitness on Fire, so actually this is a question. So I believe that that Fitness on Fire started with your fire. Like you are clearly like out of all of the times that I've met you, there is not one time where I didn't experience some sort of fire, some sort of energy, some sort of, positive mental state or attitude that just rubs off as just a natural outpouring of who you are. And maybe you've worked on it, or maybe it's just born in, I don't know, but it's really awesome. But I would be curious, is your wife the same way? And I know you guys as a couple, do you co-own? And like, how how I don't know if I could work in. Well, I mean, I did work in a gym with my wife, but then very soon thereafter, she's like, "I'm going to stay at home. You do the working out in the
You
gym
crazy,
thing."
bro. Yeah.
So yeah, how does that work? Well, let's talk about that real quick before we finish up, and then obviously we could talk forever, but I'll try to wrap it up in a little bit, and then we'll have you back on because I want to know about the program after you've gone through it. So.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, Nance, to start with, just talk about Haydee for a second, man. Haydee is, Heidee's the backbone of Fitness on Fire in so many ways. It's funny. I get to do a lot of this stuff, the podcast and the networking in the community. I speak in public a lot, all that kind of stuff. But really, like, Fitness on Fire would not be anything that it is today without Haydee. She's basically like the mom of the gym. If there's a nurturing vibe that Fitness on Fire brings, that's all Haydee. Haydee and I met at 24 Hour Fitness way back in the day, like 2007, around the time I started in the space, and we started dating around that time. So I've been with Haydee as long as I've been an adult for the most part. And she grew up in the operations side of the fitness industry. I kind of grew up in the production side of the fitness industry, the whole sales and the training side of fitness. So we always joked that one day we would be like the perfect dynamic duo to open up our own facility. And, again, man, there's nothing we would have been able to build or anything we've been able to do that we could have done without Haydee here. I don't know exactly how we work together so well, but we do. It actually works really well. I think she's just got a limitless
that's the secret
amount
sauce.
of patience.
Once you figure that out, bro, that's the secret sauce. You can let us all know, and then we'll be like frantically taking
for sure,
notes.
Man. It's all Haydee, man. She's so damn patient with me. But I think that Napoleon Hill has a concept that he speaks on in a lot of his literature. If you're a self-development person, Napoleon Hill is my favorite author ever. But he talks a lot about like the mastermind principle and the idea that no mastermind is more important than the mastermind between a husband and a wife or significant others or whatever. So this is a person that you need to be in harmonious synchronicity with all the time. And it doesn't always have to be in a work setting, right? But if it is in a work setting, 2 + 2, 1 + 1 in this situation, Haydee and I, 1 + 1 equals like 5,000. It's crazy once we think with one brain. It's pretty cool. And then we're able to put it away. So when we go home, it's us time. When we're at the gym, it's work. So I think we found a good rhythm for the last 7 years at least.
Well, and Orange County and the extended, sort of tentacles, if you will, or extended reach that you guys have because you're going all over and competing in all these different Spartan races, and you got YouTube and you got your social media channel. But all of that is blessed because of YouTube for sure. I mean, you can see it on all your posts. You can see it on just any time that you're real or anytime you're in public. It's like, it's still, man, that is fantastic. That's incredible. Something to aspire to for sure. And something that is inspirational. Absolutely. So I just want to commend you for that. And keep it up, dude. I'm here cheering you on, like, even though I'm way up in North Idaho now. So, yeah.
Man, thank you.
The last question, I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about Haydee and your marriage, because I know that that's sort of been a through line as well, like more of a through line than even the Spartan racing, right? For Fitness on Fire.
Yeah.
So the last question that we always ask all of our guests, and we've gotten answers from like uber spiritual, emotional to like super analytical and linear. Dr. Andy Galpin gave basically like, these are the things that you need to do in order to live fit.
Dude, I love listening to Andy.
I know. And then Angelo Cisco was like, went way out into like the nether sphere, right? To answer it, but all of them are great and all of them are welcome. What is your concept? What is your idea of Living Fit?
Yeah, thanks. So for me, Living Fit is in line with actually some of my biggest goals in life. And I won't go super long here, but I have something I call the Big Five. And the Big Five, it's like my compass as a man. It's like I have like these 5 things in my life that I'm aspiring to. Some of those are very chunked up and very they're not very smart goals per se, like make an impact kind of thing, right? But one of those is called limitless health and fitness. And limitless health and fitness is one of the 5 things that drives me in my lifetime. Limitless health and fitness is the idea that I never want there to be something I cannot do. So if I go to a friend's house, he's like, hey, bro, you want to play some basketball? Like, yeah, bro, throw the rock. Let's go, right? If it's like, hey, man, I'm going to go run a marathon this weekend. You going to go? Like, okay. If it's, hey, I'm going to lift with my biggest, strongest buddy. I can hold my own in the weight room. It's pretty neat. In 2016, I sent an audition tape just for, S&G for some giggles. And I got an audition tape with American Ninja Warrior, and Ninja Warrior called me back and they gave me a chance to be on the show in 2016. And they only give you like 2 weeks to prepare for it. Like, yeah, you need to be at Universal Studios at this time in like 2 weeks. Like, oh no, I'm pretty fit, but now what? So I ended up making a call to a buddy of mine who ran a parkour and gymnastics studio and had been on the show before himself. And I was able to do parkour training and Ninja Warrior training for 2 weeks. And I could get almost all of the stuff that he was coaching me through because I was fit. I was strong. Strong takes care of everything. So this is the idea of limitless health and fitness. I think that's what Living Fit really means to me, is having whatever options I want with my body, being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, for however long I want to, with whoever I want to do it with. I think that's what it all means to me, man.
That's awesome. And you said 5 things. So that's the first thing on the 5 things.
That's one of them. I think it's like number 4 on my list.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll get you on next time and you can fill us in with the other 4 if you're able to. Maybe that's the secret sauce. I don't know. We're finding all sorts of secrets here that we're going to uncover at some point. Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on the Living Fit Show. I know that it will be helpful for a ton of people, whether they're trainers or they're just getting into this thing called fitness, or they're fitness enthusiasts and have been doing it for a long time. So thank you so much, bro.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you for having me, man. And Living Fit, man, thank you guys. You guys are doing some great work. And I'd be remiss if I don't give Aaron a shout out, man. In some way, shape, or form, Aaron was the inspiration for many of us coming up in the fitness industry. 2007, right? So in 2007, I started in the fitness industry as a trainer. And very shortly thereafter, I was watching brands like Innovative Results come up, and I was like, dude, it would be really cool to own my own gym one day. So in some way, shape, or form, you were the inspiration that started what I started here, man. So thank you for being. I call you one of the godfathers of the industry, man. I think you're doing some great work, and always been a fan.
Well, you're too kind, but I also have to say thank you, Josh. I appreciate that.
Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results, make sure you hop on to Living.Fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.